Happy Friday afternoon, everyone. I'm here again. Haven't really fully got my head around what I'll be speaking about, but I've sort of picked a topic based on a suggestion from someone I was speaking to this morning on a chat. And so the topic is how to overcome past pain, or can we let go of pain from our past? And I think we can all agree that people come to therapy for only one reason. We come to therapy because we're not feeling good inside. We're not coping with life. Life's not feeling good. And basically, this stuff all happens because of things that have happened. So if nothing ever happened, we wouldn't have these feelings that we weren't coping with, or these stresses. And particularly, as you know, I'm an anxiety and depression specialist, that anxiety happens from what's happened to us and what we've experienced and what we believe from our experiences. So being able to heal and let go and release the things that have happened to us and the pain from events in the past is actually really, really important, I believe, anyway. And I think that a lot of the stuff that gets us stuck in our mind is that we get into a pattern of thinking, and that pattern of thinking is repeated over and over again. So we get what are sort of like our own truths, our own facts, and we know that our emotions are part of that truth and part of that fact, because no one can tell you how to feel, and no one can feel exactly how you are feeling. So that's part of that story, part of that truth. And when something has happened to us, and it could be just a huge situation over a long period of time, or a really acute event that just happened at one point in our life, when these things happen, it does change us. It changes, we get a meaning from that, and that creates like a friction or a discomfort within us if it's something unpleasant. And it's real. I talk a lot about being in victim mode and being in creator mode. Now, victim mode is where we're powerless, and creator mode is where we're powerful. But when something happens to us, it's just innately part of that event that we are actually powerless. So it's very hard to shift ourselves into a powerful creator state where we're taking back control and accountability for our emotions, our experiences, our thoughts, when we are actually in a helpless position, that something's happened to us, whether it's our health, or whether someone's actually done something to us, or whatever. It can be any number of things that can happen. I mean, even just something simple like an accident, or something unfair, or you miss out on something. I know when I was going through trying to have Ollie and having fertility struggles, it can feel like really powerless. Like there's so many things that can happen in your life that really take you to a powerless. And whatever comes up in negative emotions, first thing we think, or not consciously perhaps, but is no one wants to feel like rubbish. No one wants to feel bad. And I know there's been times in my life where I felt so bad that I have felt like I just didn't want to be in my body. Like I felt like someone's whacked me in the chest with a crowbar, like you can't breathe, like just really intense emotions that make like just sheer existence really, really, really uncomfortable, and you just can't get away from it. And that's the point that people are at when they start drinking, taking drugs, or engaging in like unhealthy behaviors, because distraction is actually one of the really effective things that you can use to get away from horrible feelings. But there are other ways that we can deal with stuff like this. So yeah, it's out there. Now let's go through some more stuff. So okay, so how do you know if you've got something that you need to clear out of your life? Well, I can tell you, because if you ask your unconscious mind, it'll be that thing, that person, that event, that circumstance, that situation from the past that you wish didn't happen, or you wish you could go back and change it, or it just doesn't feel good to think about it, and it pops up into your mind. And perhaps there's even patterns, like there's patterns of emotion that keep coming up. Emotions keep coming up until we heal them. So thinking about when I see people that has, say, for example, if you've felt rejected when you were a kid, or you just wanted to be loved, but no one ever had time for you, or whatever it is that's come up. And then you get into adulthood, and it's just like people just keep making you feel the same way that you felt in the past, and it keeps coming up. It might be at work or in relationships, and relationships are a big one because we tend to attract people that are going to repeat what we experienced as kids from the people who are meant to love us. So then we choose someone to love us, and then they repeat it. So really, really important to start breaking those patterns and be able to heal some of that stuff from the past. Now, I want to look at how we look at other people. So say, for example, someone's done something wrong to you, cheated on you, lied to you, hurt you, betrayed you, stolen from you, any of that stuff. What happens when we have that person and we actually feel that anger and that rage and that disappointment? And like I've been so angry, even just like using a work situation as an example. I remember I was so stressed. I was working really, really hard, and I had some kind of conflict I was in an accounts job, and there was a company in Sweden that was supplying us, and they'd put us on stop credit, and it was all back on me. Everyone was blaming me that we couldn't get this stuff. And I remember thinking, if I could, I would fly to Sweden. I would start killing people. That's how angry I was. And just having that kind of like level of rage that can engulf you when situations are out of your control and things are not going well. And the thing with the unconscious mind, it is, number one, it's the domain of our emotions. You don't choose how you feel. So it's running our emotions, but it's also running a lot of other stuff. And the unconscious doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So when we are imagining or reliving or rehashing all those conversations, events, or situations, what actually happens is the unconscious is having that experience, and you're actually attracting more of that to you. So there's two things. Number one, emotions will repeat in our life until we deal with them. And number two is that as you delve into those emotions of anger and stuff, you'll also attract more of that again. So it's sort of like an amplifying thing. So the thing with the unconscious mind as well is it actually doesn't know the difference between me and you. So if I say something terrible about you, then what the unconscious mind will take on is that that's something about me, and really is about me, because if I'm saying something, it has to be mine. I have to own it. So if I'm making a judgment about another person, saying something nasty, being rejectful, being angry, saying things like wishing resentfulness onto someone else, then my unconscious mind is actually taking that on, because it doesn't have a me and you. It doesn't have a self and others. It just has one thing it's just so one-dimensional in that way, and that's where that statement says, judge not lest you be judged. I think it's a Bible verse. I'm no theologist, but it comes back to the fact that if you have a judgment on someone else, or AKA you're holding anger, resentment, and sort of negative emotions towards someone else, that's going to be reflecting back on you, because your unconscious mind doesn't actually know about self and others. So thinking about all those things, it means that letting go of judgment, letting go of pain, anger, all that sort of stuff that we have towards other people is going to free us and give us more goodness in our life. And holding on to it is going to hold, all that negativity and cause it to come back. So when we think about what someone else has done to them, because if we think about what we're saying and doing, it's about us, right? It has to be about us because it's ours. When someone else does something to us, it's about them. So if somebody steals from us, it's not because of us, it's about them. If somebody yells at us, it's not because of us, it's them. Everything that somebody else does is about them. And that goes down to things like awful things, sexual assault, robbery, cheating, betrayal. Anything someone else does is coming from them. It's a reflection of them. And it's also indicating all the stuff in them that they have not healed, stuff that needs to be healed. Because if you're healed inside, you're not hurting other people. Hurt people hurt people. And I know anytime I've hurt someone, it's been because I wasn't in a good place within myself, either because I didn't love myself, or because I didn't have confidence, or because I was upset or angry, or everything like that. So what I do is about me, what you do is about you, and what everyone else does is about them. So here's where it gets tricky, because when people hurt us, obviously that causes trauma, and it can be a little t trauma, like small traumas, or it can be a big T trauma, and a big T trauma is like a PTSD event. And when these things happen, we have a loss of power. In a loss of power, we become a victim. We become powerless, afraid, we're angry, we're hurt, we might be ashamed or humiliated or rejected, any of those things. And this other person that does this thing to us has given us their crap. So it was about them. They were the one that was in that space of unhealedness, and they come along and they get their crap on us. Now, we all have stuff that's not healed, but now we've got a choice. We've got a choice because someone else has done something to us. They've hurt us, and we've got a big decision to make. And now if we look at this person and we hold on to that anger, like, you've wronged me, you hurt me, you're an asshole, you're this, you're that, put all that anger onto them. You cannot be angry without lowering yourself to the vibe of anger. So anger is a vibration. It doesn't feel good. It makes us feel a bit powerful though. So that's where, if you're a victim and you've been powerless, it's like the anger is that thing that like should get you out of that situation. But holding on to it, keeping yourself hooked in it, isn't going to give you emotional freedom. What it's going to do is it's going to eventually take you into a place of darkness and despair, anxiety, depression. So anger is one thing. And a lot of people in society today have been told since the day where they were born, like, how dare you be angry? Like, don't be angry. Be a nice person. Don't, you've got to be completely benign. Anger has its purpose, but it's not good to hold on to it. And we all know that because it feels awful. So that's where the enemies thing, having enemies. So the number 2 is the meaning that I give to the event, because we can have events happen to us, we can have things happen to us, but what meaning we give that event is what's going to create the emotion. So the third thing is, once you have an emotion like fear, anger, jealousy, grief, guilt, shame, blah, 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 it's what are you going to do with it? Are you going to hold on to it? Now, the victim thing goes like this. If I am going to look at you outside of me and I am going to say, I feel like this because you did that, then what's going to happen is we're going to stay in this bind. You're going to be hooked to this other person with the blame. The blame is going to be the hook. You're not going to get any emotional freedom because you're not willing to release that other person from what they've done and take the emotion and go and, whatever. Like if somebody spilled, chocolate sauce on your jacket, you'd eventually take it home and wash it off, right? And then forget about it. But if you're going to like leave that jacket covered in chocolate sauce and then just keep holding it up saying, look what you did, look what you did. So it's kind of like you've got to take that emotion, say, this has happened, it was your crap, and now I'm going to go and clean myself up because I refuse to carry your crap around with me for the rest of my life. And it also determines who you become, because if you become an angry, bitter, twisted, loveless person, or you become a weak, powerless, downtrodden victim, none of those things are going to be helpful for you or your family or your children. So it's about choosing who you become, to become a person who is solid to the core on being you, that you can say, right, this happened, but I walk away from that and I release you. You have your demons and you'll be dealt with in your own way, because let's face it, people who are doing terrible things do not have wonderful lives. And I don't care if they live on a yacht and they fly, to tropical beaches. I'm talking about on the inside, because life is 90% lived in the mind. So you can have everything material on the outside, but if your heart is twisted and your mind is bent and your emotions are filled with jealousy and greed and rage and all that sort of stuff, you are not going to feel good. So anyone who's doing terrible things is not living a good life unless they go and seek their own peace and redemption. So the next thing is how to manage fear, because fear is what keeps us small. It's what keeps us limited. It's what keeps us stuck. And fear is also the driver behind anxiety, because when we believe that we're not safe, then obviously that's going to make us anxious, keeps us worried. So there's kind of like managing fear, having like a faith counterpart, like some kind of confidence that things will, and you could call it optimism. People have different personalities and characters. Some people are just naturally more optimistic, whether that's been taught to them in their childhood or growing up, or whether it's something that they just were born with. And then the next thing is, how do I source my power and protection? Anger gives us a feeling of power, but it's not true power. True power is the power of self. That's knowing that whatever happens, that I will be okay, that I will take that situation, that circumstance, I'm going to create something good from it, no matter what it is. I've got this beautiful girl that that works for me in my other business, and she has had, a whole heap of things happen in her life, from the moment she was born. She's had health things and whatever. And as each health thing happens, and they're happening frequently, she's just come out of surgery. She literally wakes up from surgery and puts a post on Facebook thanking God that, she's been able to have another breath today, and regardless of the pain and the suffering. And so that's taking a choice about the meaning of the event. It's about taking some personal power, about being able to be thankful, be grateful, and getting that personal power inside and choosing about how you're going to view things. So no blame, no excuses, not being the victim. The unconscious mind needs to know about the past in order to release it. Number one, it's over. It is over. It can't hurt you anymore. It's not happening. You're not stuck back there now. You are here in 2022. You are not stuck back in whatever happened. And you have a choice of what you do with your life and what you do moving forward. Who wants to live stuck in pain? Who wants to live stuck in heartbreak, living in fear, worry, that all the reliving the stuff in the past? It's good to know that we're safe now. From this moment, if you, wherever you're sitting watching this, if it's now or later, you are safe and you have your own personal power of choice. So the next thing is to cut the ties. Like, obviously we want to cut the ties. Now, I don't know if you believe in reincarnation or you don't, and quite frankly, we don't really know either way, but I can guarantee that if we are coming back on any level, on any plane, in any dimension, on any world, if you have an emotional hook to someone else or something that you haven't healed, haven't released, I would bet that it's coming back, and we'll be revisiting or have another opportunity to, hey, you didn't deal with this last time. It's like the thing, you can't sweep stuff under the rug. So my view is, I want to deal with as much stuff as I can right now, because I don't want to be taking any of that with me. So being able to finish off business, not leave unfinished business behind, is for me like right up there on number one. So there's many parts of us. So you might think, okay, well, I'm Naomi, or I'm whatever your name is, and think this is me. But that's actually not, that's only part of you. You've got your felt sense, your identity of who you think you are, and you will always only be who you think you are. You'll never be more than that. So changing who you think you are is always, or being able to evaluate who you think you are. And it's good to be able to choose to be a person that has emotional intelligence, emotional maturity, and to be able to be a person who is growing in who they are. So you've then got a perception of your child self, because whatever happened when we were kids, we do have an inner child self carrying all those wounds and things like that, that perhaps needs a bit of time and a bit of care and a bit of love that we didn't get when we were younger. And there's only one person who can do that, and that's us. So, and then there's a higher self. So that's the part of us that is all knowing. It is love, light, healing, wisdom, and understanding. So it's just basically the intuitive part, the connected part, the part that has all the wisdom. And when we can connect with that part of ourselves, we can actually gain a lot of knowing and understanding that we don't have when we're stuck in that lower part of ourselves. The part of ourselves that has the anger, has the hurt, has the pain, has the shame, has the whatever, that's the part that is, the bigger the gap between your higher self and this part that wants to fly to Sweden and hurt people, is the bigger that gap is, the bigger the friction points are going to be in our life, the bigger the pains are going to be in our life, the bigger the conflicts, the bigger the emotional distress. So our higher self, we want to get closer to the higher self. We want to heal that pain, let it go. We want to heal the anger, let it go. We want to heal the guilt, the shame, the sadness, and all that stuff. Let all of that stuff go and just be able to really connect with the truth of who we are, because the truth of who we are is that we are all good. And yes, people do bad things. Behavior is not the person. Thoughts are not the person. Emotions are not the person. You're not what you think, what you feel, what you do. You are a person that's just here on this world learning as much as you can. So when we can transform our pain into wisdom and learning and understanding and sort of get that personal power back, it really does create an emotional freedom. Now, one way to do this is without obviously coming through and doing sessions and getting processes and all that sort of stuff, is to pick up a pen and just journal. Now, you can transform your own hurt and your own pain, freeing yourself when you release yourself from the binds of other people. So sometimes writing letters to other people who've hurt you in the past, trying to think about, clearing out whatever's there that's causing the hook, the pain hook, the emotional hook, and thinking about, like, what's the purpose of having this pain? What's the purpose of keeping it or holding on to the anger? What's the purpose of thinking about the past? Because it can't be undone. The past can't be undone. We have to let it go. And every time you go into the past and you think about it, you're reliving it, and it's like you're tasting the poison of the past, and you're only hurting yourself. So take back your power. If you're angry, if you're hurt, if the emotion's still alive in you, if you are still suffering from things that have happened in the past, let it go fully. It's over. You're not there anymore. You are here in 2022. You are safe. You are loved. And if you don't feel loved, then give more love to yourself, then you can do that too. I hope that focusing on yourself is something that you do in your daily practice, because what you do every day is what makes your life, and what makes your life is how you feel. And it's all, like I said, 90% of life is lived in our mind, and happiness is a feeling. It's not a financial situation, or it's not what's around you. So love to hear some comments. Put your name, because I can't see any names, but we'll be checking in again next Friday at 4 p.m. for another live. I'd love to hear some suggestions on what you'd like to talk about, because it's always interesting to think of, new topics and what to talk. Have a great weekend, and we'll chat next week.